Hey, you're live on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. Our special guest today is a good friend, Mr. Paul Jones. The conversation is going to be about cyber threats and cybersecurity. And but before we get started, I want to thank the Elder Law Firm for being a sponsor of the show. Elder Law Firm out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Who's important to you and your commitments to these folks, your loved ones, your family and friends, especially in the context of estate planning, elder care planning, even those 7 documents that you've got to manage and you got to have set up right. These folks are important to the Elder Law Firm as well. So if you need help or just want to have a conversation around this estate and elder care planning, call the Elder Law Firm in Greensboro, North Carolina. Their phone number is 336-396-4551. And let them know that you saw Randy today. That's important for them to know. So cool stuff. I think we're doing this right, Randy. Are we up and running, buddy?
I think we are. Yeah, just on my other monitor over here, I think I've got everything effectively shared. We're ready to rock. So appreciate Paul Jones joining us this week, and we're going to get a little more detail about his topic and take hopefully some questions that you have in the chat area. But first, Randy Wooden, Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina, and I'm the director for our professional center. You may, I don't know, maybe you know we have a professional center. I don't know, but now you do. Yeah. And we're happy to help. We're free. We work by appointment. And I have clients across the country, but a couple of times a week, Teddy and I get together and we have a lot of fun, and especially on Wednesday because we get to learn things. We have a guest each week. And so this week, Paul Jones III joins us from Dynamic Quest. I know you're on the sales side of the house,
yep,
but you got a lot of technical knowledge going on there. And before we dive in too much, I just want to make sure that if you have questions or comments for Paul, put them in the chat area. Teddy's going to keep an eye on that. Yeah. So, Teddy, did I leave anything out?
No, man. Let me let the world know who I am. We got 7,000 people watching us right now. And for those that have never met me, I'm a LinkedIn strategist, trainer, and coach. I work for my wife, business partner, and at Burriss Consulting Incorporated in North Carolina. And our goal, our purpose every day is to help people get the most out of using LinkedIn, whether it's for business or career or fun. And by the way, one of my tasks on a regular basis is sort of along the lines of the conversation today, but I call out the fakes on LinkedIn and I shut them down as fast as I can, which is a big problem. But anyway, a conversation for another day. Randy, take it back, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Teddy. Paul Jones III from Dynamic Quest joins us. And before we get into today's actual discussion, just if you're thinking about if it's been you, yourself, or maybe you have an aging parent or somebody who you know has been snookered by some kind of scam, or had their computer or their phone infected with a virus. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff out there. And so today we're going to try to sort some of that out. What are some of the things we need to do to protect ourselves personally? If you're a business, then we can talk that too. What are some of the latest and greatest and sneakiest scams out there? And we're going to go back in the memory bank and relive some of the early glory days of the, King Farouk of Nigeria and some of the early scams that were out there. But Paul joins us. Paul, before we dive in, why don't you give folks a little bit better understanding who you are?
Okay. I am Paul Jones III. I'm born and raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Worked in a family business for a number of years. And when we closed in 2005, I kind of struck off into being in operations for several different companies. And I got into tech, I'd say probably 7 or 8 years ago. I've always kind of been a tech nerd. I managed all our computer systems for the family business and have just enjoyed it. And September of 2019, I went to work for Dynamic Quest out of Greensboro. We are a managed IT services provider with offices in 4 states now. And I am in inside sales. So I take care of our current client base after the hunters have gone and found them. And I do kind of get in the weeds with the technical side of things. And so while not a licensed subject matter expert, I know enough to be able to keep people from making mistakes that they shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I think if we live long enough, we'll all make them.
Oh yeah, definitely. But our goal is to keep somebody you don't want reaching into your wallet from getting to it.
That's right. I've been trying to reach into Teddy's wallet for the last 3 years to try to get a raise or just like anything, and it's locked down tight. I mean, he's on top. He's going to take out the lock, or I don't know what he's got hiding in there.
I just realized something. I got look what I found.
Yep. I've got a box of them right over here behind me.
Dynamic Quest, a cut above. There you go. There's your new tagline, by the way. Hey, Paul, what's the why for you? I mean, you say you're kind of an IT nerd. Was there something that really drove you to this part of the IT business? Because there are a lot of different ways you can go with IT.
It was a chance to get out of management for a while, and work in client service. Yeah, mainly. I had friends that worked for Dynamic Quest, and it was a chance to kind of stretch my tech knowledge. So it's learning for me every day, as well as doing what I really enjoy, which is client service.
So get you kind of get you in the game. All right, so let's start with a definition, I suppose. We hear the term cyber attack. What is a cyber attack?
To boil it down, any kind of cyber attack is somebody using technology to get either your money or your personal data. So anything like your phone, your email, that is kind of constitutes cybersecurity. So you brought up King Farouk from Nigeria.
He's close personal friend. Yeah.
Right. When did email start? Early to mid 90s. Yeah. Scams started probably an hour after email went live. I mean, that is probably the classic and most well known, but they're all variations of just different scams. You had the people trying to sell you magazine subscriptions that take your money and run, going door to door.
Yes.
They're all variations. Now that, for all intents and purposes, all of us have a personal presence somewhere in the internet.
Like it or not.
Like it or not. People are out there hungry for your data. They're looking for your usernames and passwords, which, rolls us into the biggest 71% of all cyber attacks start from an email.
Really?
So, you're leading back to our friend King Farouk. What was he after? Your name and credit card money. You were going to pay the taxes on the $30 billion he was going to send you for the low price of $199 or whatever.
Okay.
The bad actors use those figures to really, we're going to give you a big thing. You just pay us a little bitty thing. And all they're going to get is that little bitty thing out of you. But if they send out 1,000 of them and they have a 10% or even a 5% success rate, there's $20,000. And the email didn't cost them anything.
And let me guess, they're not paying taxes on that, are they?
No, they're not.
Those rascals.
Unless they are government sponsored. Which is
a whole nother issue.
State sponsored terrorism is part of cybersecurity. There are known attacks coming from Russia, and they're punching it through the Ukraine. So it makes it look like somebody's requesting your assistance in Ukraine is actually going to Russia.
Something I had heard. So this could be a vicious rumor. So I'll throw it at you. Do with this what you want. Let's take China for example. And that was we're talking 10, 15 years ago. This is something I heard. So maybe things have changed, but that another thing that these bad actors in other countries or these other nations like Russia, or in this case, China was the one mentioned to me, is that they ping various computers overnight, particularly.
Right.
And so they're not after necessarily, they're after the use of your computer and its power to then disseminate. I don't know if that's called masking or what it's called, but it looks like it's coming from some other computer. So they've kind of gained access to your computer and using that as an extension of their nefarious business.
Right.
So that's a firewall issue, I guess.
That's a firewall issue.
Yeah.
There are your local home ISP can help prevent that without getting all technical, but by using dynamic IP addresses. If they're pinging, then it's not going to be the same IP address. They may get a hit, but by the time they take over your computer, it's blocked it.
Okay.
So,
all right. So it's been remedied. It sounds like
that's mostly been remedied because it's easier now for them to either buy your existing information that's been leaked through a major company hack, or they just force it. Your email's everywhere. So what do most places use your email address as your login? And they have methods that they can hit that up to 1,000 times a minute trying to get the password. And it's just that's why they say it's good advice. Don't use password 1 as your password because it's easy to guess. There are programs now that will use variations of your name. If your pets' names are, they're sucking data from everywhere and they are compiling it and using these password generators to try to break in.
Isn't one of the big risk mitigation tactics that we have is that most people don't do would be to make sure you use what I call a story password.
Right. We call it a passphrase.
Yeah. Okay. And then the second thing is do not use the same password on every account you have, because if I hack your Twitter account, Paul, I'm going to your BB&T or Truist next. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And I'm just as guilty. I will lay blame on myself for using the same password in multiple sites until I got a password manager.
Boom. There's Matt. And I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
My password manager is LastPass. I love LastPass. It makes it so easy for me to have bizarre passwords.
Right.
Unique passwords, and I don't have to freaking remember them, and I no longer need to rely on sticky notes.
No. And go ahead, Randy.
I was going to say, let's go back. You guys are talking shop here, so let's make sure that the average Joe that's watching this thing understands. You talk about a phrase password or a story password. Help us understand what that is.
Okay. So a phrase password is something you can remember. The example I use, so don't use this one, is the rain in Spain.
Falls mainly in the plain.
Right. But I will take the rain in Spain and I will substitute maybe a 1 for an I, an @ symbol for an A, or some other variation in that. I will also vary the capitals. So it makes it so much tougher to randomly generate that That's what makes it a secure password. When we are recommending to clients how long their password should be, it should be 14 characters.
Okay.
And so that's why a passphrase, or as Teddy put it, a story password.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to remember. It is hard for a automated system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're creating this really difficult one, you still want to have multiple passwords, different
Yes.
for different websites. All right.
You know, if you're not using a password manager, yes, you want to have you to be truly secure, you want to have a different one for each. But you look through, you know, I'm an iPhone user, so
okay.
Face ID is just one more level of security.
Because nobody wants this face.
You're right.
It's a one of a kind. Trust me.
It's a one of a kind.
It's a one of a kind.
But you know, yes, it is complicated. That's why the password manager helps, because you've got one good passphrase for that manager, and then you can use whatever.
All right. So here's the cynic in me coming out. Right. So if I put all my eggs in, what did you say, Teddy? What was that called?
I use LastPass, but
I use one password.
One pass. So I put all my faith in that, and I get this big long password that I use to hack into that thing. Well, what if somebody hacks into their system? You know. So where's it go from there? Now I'm laid bare, right? I don't have a shot. It's out of my hands. So help give me, as an old guy, some comfort level that says, you know, these young whippersnappers aren't, you know, going to steal my stuff. How's that gonna hurt?
Two-step authentication.
Yeah, that was going to be my next. As we are riding this roller coaster,
okay,
of security. The two-factor or multi-factor authentication.
Right.
If you are a Microsoft Office user, then you're probably going to get a message sooner rather than later from Microsoft saying basic authentication has been turned off. We are forcing you to go to two-factor.
Yeah.
With Microsoft, and they are the easiest to use as an example.
Okay.
Microsoft, when you go to log into your Office O365 account, name and password, they'll send you a text message with a 6-digit code, and you put that 6-digit code in
your phone,
or it's text to your phone. But if you're logging in from the laptop or logging in from the Office app on your phone, it will require that 6-digit code to get in. And because that is device specific to your cell phone, you're the only person that can get that code.
All right. So let me throw another one at you then.
All right.
Again, because this is something that I read on Facebook, so I know it's true.
True.
Mm-hmm. I'm only half kidding, but that the bad actors out there can, I don't know, spoof your phone or whatever, yes. And they can kind of hack into your phone so that even if I pick up my phone and I think I'm getting a legit code sent to me, that might actually, somebody else might be hacked into my phone and stealing it. So
yes and no.
Okay.
Spoof, they have assumed your phone, and that's right. You know, the human element is the biggest mm-hmm. thing, and we'll get to that because I've got a nice little acronym that people can remember. The spoof is you can assign a phone number in today's digital environment to be anything you want it to be.
Yeah.
So we're calling about your car warranty, folks. You know, that because they are not, it may show up as a call from Brown Summit, North Carolina, but they're in some call center, not here. But they have assumed that number. it doesn't necessarily mean they have gotten control of that device.
And there are, I'm with you, Randy. I read that story just recently and about hackers who are trying to hack really big targets.
Right.
Will spoof their phone. But there's a solution against that as well. And that is, don't go for text message two-step authentication.
Right. Yeah. Microsoft
go for the
does
authenticator
text.
app.
Yeah. The Google Authenticator, we use that app as well, especially for anything that's behind our VPN.
Yeah. And let me bring up some of the questions that just came up. Yeah. Let's first, Paul, go to the high-level questions that Dale asked. Does Dynamic Quest do cyber audits for companies?
Yes, we do cyber audits and pen testing.
Okay.
Depending on, like, if you are an existing client, we typically farm that out. We've got a partner that's they're actually an accounting firm that handles the pen test and the SOC audits for us, because then if we're asked to do any remediation, it's not our test that
I want you to
showed up.
Explain what pen testing is, Paul.
Penetration test is basically the company performing the test actually sends a little device that you plug into your network switch, and it tries to exploit holes in your network. And that's the internal pen. The external pen, and that is where they're trying to break into your system. They, like, from outside. If you read the news, you'll hear denial of service attacks, where they are essentially bringing a website down by trying to force entrance.
Here, let me ask the other one. So Dale says, you have all the passwords and multifunction authentications you want, but it always comes down to the human as the weakest link. And let me tell you, I will tell you that I have personally walked into executives' offices where their login and password is on a sticky note on their below the monitor. I mean, I see it all the time. It's just, we are our worst enemies. And no matter what anybody says about anything else in security, we are often the biggest problem. Hey, Todd asked this question, Randy. What about all the spam calls and even text messages that we're getting to cell phones? Do you know what those are about lately? There's a new wave of calls and text messages from bogus numbers. Right.
Yeah. The calls, it's the same old telemarketing scams. As long as we have voice lines, I think we'll have those things. It's just they can assume a number and it could potentially show up as somebody in your contact list.
Yes. But the other side, that this particular one that Todd's talking about, that I've experienced as well, that there's two types. One is you pick it up and you hear click, 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 and it sends it to an auto dial or an auto answering. But the other one is when you answer it, there's nobody there.
They are looking for live voices.
If it's a good phone number.
Yeah, they're trying to see if it's a good phone number.
So
and if they get a live voice, then they'll know it's good, and they'll sell that number off.
And to the car warranty guys.
Right, to the car warranty guy. Another, I think you will hear, it's called a smish. So instead of a fish, it's called a smish. And that is an SMS or text message scam where they send you a link and they may try to pretend it's Truist or Wells Fargo, or, we've even seen them trying to get medical information. That's where it totally boils down to, kind of where it's perfect lead in to the acronym, which is called SLAM. And it's the things to remember. And this holds for any any personal or work related communication method, and it stands for sender, links, attachments, and message. So it really develops up for email, but it's starting to come through on text message. Who is the sender? Examine the email address, and a client here in Winston-Salem was ransomwared in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And the email came to the owner of the company, apparently thought it was from a bank.
Yeah.
Wanted login, saying you need to come in, reset your password or something like that. He clicked the link and it sent it to a website, which triggered the ransomware, and it shut their systems down. Yeah. So if the link or the email do not seem right, and the only change in the email was there were 2 S's in wellsfargo.com in the body of the email address. Everything else was legitimate. So you check your senders and then the links. So, you can always hover over a link and read it. And if it's a bunch of garbage and not wellsfargo.com,
right,
then it's taking you somewhere that's not affiliated with that email.
Yeah. That's probably one of the tactics. Another one of the tactics that we don't take and use enough is the power of hover.
Yes.
Hover and look.
Yeah, hover and look. And to kind of give a cap to this,
mm-hmm.
we are all so inundated with information constantly all day, whether we're doom scrolling on the phone or personal emails, work emails, all the information, we're speeding through it. So
mm-hmm.
we're not, so the first thing is slow down and think before you click.
Yeah.
Which at the A in SLAM is attachments. If your spider sense starts to go off, then it's probably your common sense is telling you don't click that.
No, we've had
verified.
Good, Teddy. Yeah.
Otherwise, what you're going to get is what Dale's got now. Dale's got 15 girlfriends in the UK and Ukraine. He didn't even know it.
Right. So,
new brides that want to,
new brides. Yep.
brides.
The bride. Oh God, the Russian bride scams.
Oh.
So, it's all variations. And then the last thing is you look at the message, and, with the bulk of the cyber criminals coming after individuals are from overseas. So check your spelling, look, pay attention to the grammar.
Mm-hmm.
Our Nigerian prince had horrible grammar.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Which was, that would be a sign. So, your high school English teacher is coming back to haunt you in saying, pay attention to grammar.
Hang on a minute, guys.
We're going to take a break here, I think, aren't we? Yeah.
Let me do the ad break. This is good conversation, and we can go on and on and on. And we got a lot of big points to talk about here in a minute.
Yep.
Hey, you're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. For those who don't know, I'm Teddy, and my buddy down with the lighter shirt on is Randy. Our special guest today is our friend Paul Jones from Dynamic Quest. The conversations about cyber threats, cybersecurity, and how can the human take and protect themselves. Hey, Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy is sponsored in part by the Elder Law Firm. What's important to you and how you plan to honor your responsibilities to them? Well, that's important to the Elder Law Firm. So if you need help with the right estate planning, or you need help with elder care planning, reach out to the Elder Law Firm in Greensboro, North by God, Carolina at elderlawfirm.com, 336-396-4551, and let them know that you heard Paul Jones talking about cyber threat on the show when you call them. Back to you, Randy.
Yeah, unless you have other one.
Up a little bit, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You switched it up. Yeah, he's a professional, Paul. Don't attempt that at home. He's got it going on.
Right.
Anything else from the chat area, Teddy, you wanted to throw in there?
The other one that came up is, Todd threw out that he's getting invites from all these nice looking ladies that want to connect with him. Well, Todd, I denied them, and so they came to you secondly. So I just want to let you know that's what's going on there.
Gonna hurt his feelings, man. Telling him that.
Yeah, and to answer Dale's question, yes, on training. So we recommend a product called Know Before. It's a 10-minute video once a month. And the clients that sign up for that through us, they get anywhere from 1 to 4 test fish emails a month. And so to answer that is on a corporate side, it's a minimum once a month. We at Dynamic Quest, our staff and us, we are 2 to 3 a month training sessions.
So it's called Know Before. And there are a lot of security measures. I mean, I work for Goodwill, and once in a while they'll send out an internal email. The IT team will, or somebody, or they'll pay an outside firm, whatever, to do it, and just see who clicks it.
Right. Yeah.
And then have a little chat with them and say, hey, luckily, this was not a bad actor, but had it been,
right,
it would have been a problem.
And that's where we go on top of that and say, here's what you should have looked for. We had one come through. It was actually appeared to be from Home Depot, and what they were trying to make sure is that you were looking at the email address that it came from and the link.
Yeah.
Everything else was fine. The grammar was fine. They had Home Depot's logos on it. I was able to dump it right away because it came to my work email address, and I don't do any of that. I don't engage with anybody like that through my work email.
Right.
So, we brought up earlier the question of what do we do with our aging parents or friends that are a lot more trusting of things. It came from the internet, so it must be true. Those are the tricks that you teach that person. Like, I was able to teach my 85-year-old mother what to look for in an email. Now, she's kind of gone overboard, but she's no longer.
She doesn't accept your emails. You delete them.
Right. Yeah, she deletes them. So
she's in a spam folder.
She has inadvertently deleted some stuff that may have been important, but she knows that if she gets something in regards to her finances, one, she either calls my sister or I to ask, or two, she calls her contact with that. Verifying, and that's a good thing about attachments. You verify it by phone. If somebody is sending you something, say an insurance broker is sending you a document to review, but you didn't ask about one, you call them and say, Teddy, we'll put you in. Teddy, did you mean to send me this? And it's like, no, I didn't. Then that means there may be a hack on their end. And that it's probably what is going to happen is if you were to click that attachment, it would suck in everything from your contact list and then spam itself out.
Yeah. And the other thing too is never call anybody from the phone number on the email address.
Right.
Yeah, good idea.
Message or the website. Never. You
Right.
need to have all those phone numbers saved that work. So if I need to call, Merrill Lynch and ask them about what's going on with my, $63 million portfolio that's in my mind, I'm going to my cell phone and get that phone number for that guy and calling him directly.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call an 800 number. I may call an 800 number, but it's going to be one that I know for a fact.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're getting something that is credit card based, call the number on the back of the card, not the one on the email address. Or
I got two questions. Todd wants to know, does Paul Jones, and this is you may position this as not a dynamic quest recommendation, but does Paul Jones have a security software for PCs that you recommend? Or you may recommend it as not from a dynamic quest.
So from personally and corporately, we use SentinelOne as our antivirus and spam filter and malware prevention. Microsoft and Google and G Suites, their built-in spam filters are pretty good. For people that just need base spam filtering, Microsoft's and Google's are pretty good. On top of that, we recommend a company called AppRiver for their spam filtering. So personally, all of the IT equipment or all of the workstations that we personally own, I've got SentinelOne on.
Yeah.
Does that matter if it's a Mac or a PC, or does that matter?
They are not. That is no longer a specific requirement. That SentinelOne and these other next generation
work across platforms.
And when I say next generation antivirus, they don't require an update to be pulled down looking for of new viruses and things. They are called what's zero attack, and they'll listen to how you use your device, and then if a piece of rogue code enacts, it quarantines it. So
let's go. Susan's got a question.
Hey, just a second, Teddy. So I want to drill down a little bit. I have a Mac, and when I got it, maybe I wasn't listening, but I was told basically, this thing's invincible, and
it used to be bad actors were not going after Apple products.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it going to slow my Mac down? But
if it's installed right, it shouldn't. Because it's not having to work through a whole big list of definitions to see if what is going on in your machine is there. It doesn't chew up a bunch of resources like McAfee or Norton.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
So
is SentinelOne, is it a numeral one or is it ONE?
ONE.
Okay.
Dale threw out that question about Norton and McAfee slowing down your machine, trying to incentivize us to upgrade. Is that that story still real or not real?
It's still pretty real. When it comes to email protection, virus protection, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
AVG is a good product, but
you pay for.
You get what you pay for. Consumer grade Cylance is another good one. They're actually owned by the BlackBerry. So
Paul, for consumer, for average Joe, the average guy watching this thing, because I think Dale's an IT guy, right? He's an IT director level. So he's playing up here,
right?
But for a minor league guy like me, just has a Mac and a couple of monitors, and I'm not the most swift guy with a lot of IT things, as Teddy can attest. For a regular Joe like me, what do I need to have, if anything, on a Mac? For example?
I want to say you want to research next generation antivirus. which, Cylance, SentinelOne. There are a few others out there. But from most of these companies do have a consumer level that is perfect. And that's what I'm running on, like I've got a Microsoft Surface, so I run it on that. I've got it on my son's gaming machine, my mother's computer, my mother-in-law's. I just got de facto IT guy, so for the family. So,
so that's the way to go. Research that. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Teddy,
research what you want to do, and Dale can yell at me if he wants to, but next generation IT or next generation antivirus. And those are the ones that use machine learning and artificial intelligence to protect your computer versus a big list of definitions that have to be downloaded and updated every month.
Yeah. Susan says, and I've heard this, Randy and I do career coaching with lots of people. Her husband's running into job sites that, every time he looks at a job posting out there, they all look to be bogus. And I'll tell you that, Susan, tell your husband to be careful. Tell your husband to call me, but tell him to be, and then tell him to call Randy. Stop looking at job boards. Get the heck off of job boards. That's the best way to find a job is through a conversation. But if you are on a job board, set up really, really highly focused searches that send you an email once a week with the new listings that are highly, highly focused. And then you'll still end up deleting it because it's a waste of time.
Well, right. And also just to piggyback on that, if you see a job posting on a job board, go to the company's
website.
And that's the real deal, because it may have been a real job a while back and they hadn't taken it down off Indeed or whatever. But also then that eliminates the scam piece and you're going right to the source. So
it all boils down to somebody wants your data. You follow along with if Facebook's getting in trouble, more in Europe than here, but Europe is a little bit ahead of us on cracking down on privacy.
Yeah.
I'm a social media nut. I love it, with the exception of Twitter. I got rid of my Twitter account, and I don't have a TikTok account because nobody wants to see this on video. But that data we are posting of where you're on vacation, things like that, it's valuable information for good things as well as bad. You think of, I grocery shop at Lowe's Foods most of the time, and I think of, they know more about my buying habits than I do. Because they've tracked it. Every time you swipe that loyalty card, every product that you have purchased is in there. And they use that to target coupons and things like that. So I think that's around valuable.
In the store. They put the cupcakes up front when I come in.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beer den opens when I walk in, but
welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome home.
But that we are in a data-driven society. And so it's smart to keep what you want to keep private. And by making little adjustments into your daily routine, and this is another thing that I told my mother, really slow down and look at that email that's requesting you to send something. And verify it. And that's, getting back to, we are our own worst and best defense. A bad actor is counting on you, and I'm using that as the royal you, to not think.
Or not think fast enough.
Right. And Go ahead.
All right. So not everybody, but a lot of us have a Facebook account, or maybe they're on it from time to time. And how often? Every day I say, don't accept a friend request for me. I've been hacked. Right. So what does that really mean? I haven't been hacked. Is a clone the better word? And what's the bad actor?
Yeah.
What's actually taking place? What's going on there, and the why behind it? Why is this happening?
It's a data.
What's happening?
They're trying to get personal data. That's all it is.
From me, if I'm the one that's cloned, or from my friends?
Yes.
Yes, and yes.
Because every time you accept one of those cloned account friend requests, they get access to your contacts.
Right.
And so it's just, they're looking for personal data. It's basically just a big data dump.
All right. So what happens if I feel like I've been cloned? What do I do?
Change your password. That's about all you can do, because Facebook's not going to help you.
If you get cloned, there's nothing. I mean, I'm with Paul. You should always, make sure your password's updated and change it frequently. I'd say once a year, the minimum once a year. I change all of my important passwords. But the only other thing to do, Randy, is just, when your friends message you, go find that fake account and call it out. And
you
Facebook and LinkedIn, they'll take it down in a heartbeat.
Yeah, they will take it down. In cases of where, you see it on Instagram a lot. And that's another thing where somebody they'll put a hyphen or a underscore in their username and basically just create a clone. And you see it more with more higher level influencers, because those are the people that are, they're trying to get credit card information. So
change my password if I feel like I've been
change your password, and if you can, and I would report it. And let them know that it's happened. Don't expect a response, but
Facebook search for Randy Wooden and see what you find. And if you see if you see another Randy Wooden out there that's using your profile picture, connected to Teddy or Paul, which you're not going to see, but connected to other friends, and go ahead and report that account.
What I do when I get a friend request from somebody who I think I'm friends with, or I'll conduct a search on Facebook with their name, and it'll show up as friend already. So then I know that it's bogus. Plus, I'll go to their bogus account and I'll see that they have 8 friends or whatever.
Right. And they'll only be a small smattering of what they would really have if it was real. In LinkedIn, one that I'm seeing a lot are beautiful Asian women requesting to connect, and they're trying to sell cryptocurrency.
And what happened with those, Paul, just so you know, is they came to me first. I sent them to Todd, and Todd sent them to you.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I knew where they were coming from. But that falls into, God, this conversation could go on for ages, but there's what they call the love scam. And that is where male or female, they are trying to pull at your heartstring and think that, oh my God, this person is so wonderful. And then they get you to send them money. And you think you're building a viable relationship, but you're not.
Yeah.
That happens on dating websites too. And
yes,
Teddy tells me all about that all the time. So
because somebody else told me. So
but no, it's out
really, there. Probably the most important thing that I'm getting out of this conversation so far is if we don't slow down and pay attention, we're going to make the mistakes that generation before us is making, that we're trying to help them out of.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's, and you hear it all day, every day of you got to slow down and enjoy life and slow down. But you've got 20 deadlines that you've got hammering you. And it's like, oh God, what is Visa want now?
Yes.
And just remember the other thing too is The IRS is not going to email you.
Yeah. Hey, let's make sure we, Randy, we talk about that conversation that I know I've failed at miserably, and that is, should we play with these?
That's exactly, yes. Yes, exactly what I was going to ask. Yeah, go ahead, Teddy. Yeah.
No, I asked the question. I mean, I'll tell you from my point of view, Paul, when I have a moment between sessions, and if a scammer calls me, I can pretty quickly on my computer, hit record and record the conversation. And then I take the call and I play with the idiot. Should I or should I not?
If you want to do it on your own computer and not one work-based or your own phone, I would say so. But, having a little bit of fun with a Facebook scammer or a LinkedIn scammer. I've got a friend who's in real estate that gets knucklehead scammers all the time, and it's hysterical.
I know who you're talking about. I've seen his stories.
Yeah. And so having a little bit of fun, but you're the one in control of your personal information.
Yeah.
So you make sure you don't open the door for them to get it.
Well, one of the reasons why I think it's the more sophisticated scammer is what I'm really worried about, because they're recording my conversation. They heard me say the word yes.
Right.
And so there is that risk that they'll use my satirical conversation in some way against me later on, and some.
I mean, it's possible.
I think what I'm trying to say is, I think it's fun to do, but I think there's two reasons why I shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
one, the potential risk. Two, I'm wasting time.
Yeah, you're wasting time, and then you're going to go back and say, "Well, I spent 10 minutes with that, and now I've got 30 emails have piled up." And Osaka from North Korea wants to come on the show.
We got a minute or two, and then I want you to give a couple takeaways, but a lightning round here. I got burned on this some years back. I'd get a pop-up on my Mac, and it said your Adobe Flash needs to be updated. Click here to update it. That one nailed me, and it loaded me with whatever. I had to get my computer, had to take it to the car wash to get it clean. So that was a bad one.
Yeah, pop-ups are still utilized, but they're real low tech, and Chrome, Firefox, even Microsoft Edge, any of the browsers. There's one called Brave, DuckDuckGo, which those limit the amount of tracking, the amount of little cookie trails you leave, and so it doesn't give the pop-up a vector into your. And you just keep your pop-up blocker on and approve the ones you ask for.
I got one last one, then we're going to ask you to do a quick takeaway, and then Teddy and I'll have a story. And it's this one. All of us are on numerous email newsletter. We get them, whether now hopefully Constant Contact and MailChimp are legit. But at the bottom of these, they'll say unsubscribe, click here. So if I unsubscribe, now I never signed up for the email in the first place, but if I click unsubscribe, is that the same thing as answering my phone? Now they know they have a live email. Should I click unsubscribe, or should I just delete it?
If you did not request to be added to that email address, then just delete it. Don't engage with it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little difficult now because with it being election season, the amount of unsolicited email has risen. At least it has in my inbox.
Right.
I'm getting requests for money from candidates in like Wyoming. So somehow they got my email address, but they're not even using my name. They've got it coming to Nicholas at my Paul Jones email.
Yeah.
So those are better to not engage. Just trash them, mark them as spam. But if you signed up for that email address, they are legally supposed to remove you if you hit unsubscribe.
Let's pivot here. I get them from LinkedIn. I'll connect. They'll invite me to connect, and now suddenly their company has added me to their email distribution list.
Yes.
So that I'll usually unsubscribe. All right. So let's give maybe two quick takeaways that you want people to have here.
The thing is, think before you click. That is the greatest defense.
Yeah.
And if somebody's asking you for your personal information and you don't necessarily know them, it's probably a scam. Or you did not initiate the transaction.
Okay.
It all boils down to being responsible for your own safety and using tools that are available. Long passwords, password managers.
Two-step authentication.
Higher end email filter and antivirus.
This is like Mission Impossible, man. This is a cat and a mouse game. As soon as you guys come up with something, they'll come up with a workaround, and it just keeps guys like you in business, man. When you get down to it, it's job security.
Our goal is to try to make people as secure as possible, so that in the event when something happens, they're prepared for it.
Paul Jones III, of Dynamic West. Paul, thanks for joining us. Teddy,
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Hang around for just a second. Teddy, I don't really have a whole lot of story to tell, but I will share one briefly.
My boat story?
No, I'm not going to tell your boat story. You tell your boat story. I'll tell you a story.
I said I'll tell my boat story. So this is one of the first scams I got hooked up with. It was before 1980. And I'm working in a chemical plant in Maryland, and I get a phone call to, I think it was to my house. Said, I have been chosen to do a review on this 15-foot boat with a small motor, and all I had to do was they send me the boat and for free, and all they wanted me to do was do a review. And I'm like, hey, I'm there, man. I'd love to have a little boat. And there was a little river down the road from me. And so they said, but to get the boat, you got to pay the $150 shipping. I'm like, well, it's a 15-foot boat with a motor. I'm like, I'll pay the shipping for that. It's $150 for shipping. So I paid $150 for shipping. I gave them my address at the chemical plant where I worked. I told the receptionist, I said, hey, they're supposed to deliver my boat today. Would you let me know when they show up to deliver the boat, and I'll come get it and put it in the back, hook it up to the back of my truck or whatever. And about an hour or so later, across the chemical plant, the whole building, the PA system, I hear this: Teddy Burriss, come to the lobby. Your boat is in the lobby. I purchased for $150 a $20 rubber dinghy in a cardboard box. So.
Hey, just real quick, I hung up thinking it was on my work cell phone. I got a call from Raleigh, and it ended up being a call center calling on behalf of the U.S. Department of Labor, conducting a survey for a government website. And I was supposed to be a subject matter expert. My name was given to them as somebody they needed to contact, but I hung up on them initially because they kept saying, is this Randy Wooden? And I wouldn't say yes, to Teddy's point earlier. Right. And so I hung up, and then I got an email from that same person right away. My first thought was, holy cow, they really know me. And anyway, so it all worked out in the end. But Teddy, that's enough about me. Sorry. Let's talk next week. What you got?
Hey, Paul, good stuff, man. Thank you. Yep. Thanks a lot for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, next week, Phyllis Caldwell from Financial Pathways of the Piedmont. And let me tell you, when we talk to Phyllis, they do so much cool stuff that I said, look, you got to come on the show. You guys have got some great resources, some great services that we need to have more and more people to know about. Yep. So join us next Wednesday. Phyllis Caldwell from Financial Pathways of the Piedmont will be with us. And again, we appreciate the Elder Law Firm for being our sponsor of the show today. You guys have a great day, great week, and we will see you another day.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it, bud.
Thank y'all.
All right, see you.
Folks.